Good evening. Welcome to the Falls Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, June 20th. We'll begin with the salute to the flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Takita, can you pull the board, please, for roll call?
Mr. Dents.
Here.
Ms. Mullen.
Here.
Mr. Palmer.
Here.
Let the record show Mr. Boraski and Galloway are both absent tonight. Item 1, public comment. Chad Smith, 200 Midway Drive. Hello.
So I'm Chad Smith, 200 Midway Drive.
Hold on, sir. Is his mic on?
Is his mic on?
Should be. I'll come out.
Yeah, you're good.
It's not making any sound like yours are.
No.
Sorry about this.
I can go sit down on one of those.
No, you're good. Yeah. It was probably Rich.
Richie's fault.
Yep, there you go. Cool. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, we're good. Chad Smith, 200 Midway Drive. So I'm here as a homeowner, relatively frustrated with the permitting process. And what I'd like to do is kind of outline my recent experience with going through the permit process through the township. I don't know if this is an open forum where you provide comment on what I say. If it is, great. If not, I'm here to give my feedback as a concerned citizen, right? So basically, within the last couple of months, I've submitted 2 separate permits. Both times, the approval process has taken an unreasonable amount of time. And from my perception, it really feels like the overall process as a whole needs to be looked at. And as a homeowner, I really feel like I'm being penalized by going through this permit process, as opposed to some of my neighbors who elect not to, right? So first permit was submitted for a pretty standard kitchen renovation March 15th. At that time, I was informed that Remington and Vernick engineers had been contracted to provide stopgap coverage because of a medical illness situation in the township, which is understandable, right? You've got things happen in life, so you've got a stopgap. During that time, there was also issues with the BSNA online portal, where apparently the online portal was down for a number of weeks, which caused Remington and Vernick to get backed up for a period of time. Finally, when they got back up and running, I was told that they were 3 or 4 weeks behind. Finally, 5 weeks later, after my initial submission, I received a rejection notice. And I immediately put together the information that was needed, found that I could not submit it because the online portal was down. So I actually reached out to Remington and Vernick and said, hey, can I email this to you? They said no, because we operate through the online portal. It's how we do all of our processing. Understandable. I'm in the design build world. I get it. We bill hours. I get how that works on the engineering side. But then the portal was still not working. I waited for a few days. Then I called BSNA and I said, hey, BSNA, I'm a ratepayer for Falls Township. I want to understand what's going on. Can you kind of summarize the situation and see what needs to be done so that I can submit my information so we can keep going? They said it's an issue on Falls Township side. They said that they were waiting for a return phone call from Falls Township IT and that everything was checking out on their end. They just could not make a connection and it was a Falls Township issue. At which time I reached out to Mr. Takita and requested his assistance, and he helped me get the information uploaded into the system, helped get my permits approved, and away we go. So the second time through, he also facilitated me uploading my information for the next permit, which came shortly thereafter, submitted on April 26th. So going into the process, I'm thinking, hey, okay, we've got the stopgap, BSNA portal's working, here we go, right? I'm thinking that we're gonna be moving a little more smoothly. Trying to check in with the office staff to understand where I sit in the queue, By this point, I know there's a queue, right? I fall somewhere in the queue. Hey, can you tell me where I am? Give me an ETA, give me something. The office staff kept saying, we're checking in with Remington and Verdict. We haven't heard back. I called Remington and Verdict myself on 2 separate occasions, did not receive a phone call back, and seemed like I got lost in the mix. Finally, 6 weeks later, after re-engaging Mr. Takeda, I received a rejection notice. And from my standpoint, I've been waiting 6 weeks. That means that I get kicked to the back of the line, right? So does that mean I'm waiting another 6 weeks? So I became very frustrated and expressed my frustration, to which point Mr. Takeda then again intervened to allow me to get my permits processed, right? So we've got to have all these interventions to move this process along. So from my standpoint, it just really seemed like I'm not really sure what's going on here with the process. It seems like it's an overall resource allocation issue. From my standpoint, I feel like I'm being punished, both myself and my contractor. My contractor only takes on a certain number of jobs per year, and I stuck him with a cumulative 11-week delay on my projects. For someone who it's him and 2 other guys, that's a material hit to his ability to do work throughout the year. And I know he hasn't told me this, but if I call him again and say, hey, we're doing an addition and I'm going through all these permits, he may not call me back,
Yeah.
right? Like he may
probably
say,
wouldn't.
yeah, he may say, hey, I got other things that I got to do, right? So those are my concerns.
So the first one was a kitchen renovation?
Kitchen
Do you mind telling
renovation.
me what the second one was?
Oh, sure. It was for an extension onto our house, a 6-foot extension and a bathroom extension, for which we had stamped drawings.
So I don't have an answer on any of that, but this is the first I've ever heard anything like this. But can you shed any light on this?
Yes, I can. Just start with, I want to make a point of saying that Mr. Smith, throughout the whole process, was very polite and very patient with our department. Everything he said, right today is accurate. And as a result, unfortunately, of his experience, what we've started to do on this end is because, unfortunately for him, he hit every weak point in the system that we had. The system went down, so there was no second way of processing permits. So what we started doing now is I meet with our staff weekly, and we start troubleshooting any negative feedback we get from any resident. But in particular with Mr. Smith's project, we now have set in place an alternate method of processing permits if the system does go down. We hadn't had that happen before. I have a meeting with our third-party inspection agency to discuss expediting permits and what to do, and how we would like to see resubmissions being processed. Because what happens typically is when the application comes in, it's taken in date order. So when a resubmission comes in, it gets put in date order. But what we're doing now is any resubmissions go to the top of the pile because they've been here the longest. So we're working through a lot of the problems that he's experienced, and I apologize on behalf of the department, for what you had to go through. But as a result of that, though, we're going to be making, much greater strides in customer service.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And I think that is an interesting feedback that you had about putting resubmissions to the top of the order. Because for me, my contractor's like, when are we going to get this done? I'm like, I have no idea. I'm looking at another 6 weeks. I don't know. So that's good information. That was interesting. Yeah.
So moving forward, if there is a problem with the system, there is a secondary way for people to submit
Correct.
their permits
Yes.
and stuff.
And what we were trying to do
That
is
was the
make
most
it
concerning
completely-
thing.
Yeah, I mean, the time limits that the timeframes that he experienced are unacceptable for any department. And we're going to work to correct that. But yeah, what we were trying to do is push everything into the computer, and that was going to be our sole way of managing everything. And then, of course, the system did go down, and then with us transitioning overall in the township with our IT department to a web-based server, there was a disconnect in BSNA communicating with our servers. So that was the second problem. So we have to be able to respond to issues like that. So now we will accept paper, for any residential project done by a homeowner, we accept all paper submissions. at this
If you
point.
have to.
Yes, if we have to. We're trying to promote the electronic portion, but if it's just not happening, we're gonna accept the paper. We'll process it ourselves.
Okay.
So what do you think of his answer? I mean, it's unfortunate that you're the one that had to be the catalyst for all this change to take place.
Yeah, I mean, what do I think? I mean, I think that the online portal itself is confusing to navigate. So that in and of itself, while I understand the intent of it, I think when I log in and I try to figure out what's going on with my permit, it's super nebulous. And so getting information in the hands of the office staff have been great in regards to giving me the information that they have at that moment, but it also seems like they don't have good information to operate off of. So it almost seems like information coming from Remington and Vernick is not forthcoming. So that is another piece of it that's missing. That's like, hey, what's going on this end, right? Is it only one person, or do they have a team? They've got offices in
Well,
Delaware,
they
New
only
Jersey,
do our,
and-
they're not doing, I mean, they're using a third-party inspection service. That's what they're doing for us. So they're doing plan review, correct?
Plan review and inspections.
Yeah, so they're not doing any engineering, so to speak.
No, I
Yeah.
understand. They're reviewing my plans.
Yeah, but that's only a one man in our office. It's not, that has nothing to do with really their firm.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, right, am I correct in that?
Yeah, they have a few people in their code inspection staff, and to your point, part of the reason for the meeting with them is to improve the communication between our department and their
I see. Okay.
code staff.
Okay.
Because there was a breakdown in communication there as well.
okay.
And we need to work on the speed on the permit turnarounds.
I know that for years, it's been one guy that's been the same guy here for a long time. That's why I said
We
it.
have, they give us a body in the office that does
Okay.
the majority of the work, but any overage, they give to other inspectors within their department.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, and the feedback that you're giving me is excellent. I mean, and I would love it if we had either the opportunity to either talk on the phone more, or if you want to outline some stuff in an email, because these are all things that we need to hear.
Sure.
And again, I appreciate how constructive you are with your criticism.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't find anything on the Falls Township online, the Facebook page. People gripe all day long on that, and nobody was saying anything about the permit process. So I was like, well, I'll come here and say something.
It's just you. No, I'm
It's
only
just me.
kidding.
I know, right? Yeah. So I'm happy to talk whenever. We'll have
Okay.
lunch.
This is, Mr. Takita is the one that's, implemented all this. So,
Yeah, I
a
understand.
couple years ago, we didn't have any of this. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit of a work in progress, so to speak.
Yes.
But, and like he said, I'm sure he's going to take your, everything you pointed out and fix it.
Yeah.
If he hasn't already. There's nothing else that we can really add.
Okay.
Just that we appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for your
Thank
time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too.
Sorry you had to deal with all that. Tony Batiste.
Good evening. Hi. Mine's a lot easier. It's just some clarifications. The first and third Tuesday of each month from now till, I guess, the end of the year is going to be at 4 p.m. And is it only relative to the building progress?
What are we talking about?
The public meetings.
No, the construction
The
work. session.
Oh, yeah,
supervisor, the
that's just-
supervisor meetings?
Oh, that's not a supervisor meeting. That's a construction meeting, but there's 3 supervisors on that committee. That's why they have to have it public.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not a Board of Supervisors meeting. That's a
I
building construction
apologize. That's
meeting.
what I thought it was.
That's why I didn't know what you were talking about. I'm like, what?
But that is only relative to the building?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. All the rest of the regular first or third of the month meetings for the supervisors
Yeah.
are going to be at 7 now instead of 6:30?
Correct.
Okay.
That's been like that for how long now? A while, right?
Well, it was
Since the
6:30
beginning
at
of this
one
year.
time.
Since this
Just the
year.
beginning of the year.
January.
Okay, my apologies.
That's okay.
No public comment or input via Zoom?
Correct.
Okay, even though there are quite a few seniors who do not drive at dark anymore. That's the only reason I would think it'd be nice to have it available to them. I do drive, so I can come.
Yeah, no, we're not, most places stopped doing it after COVID, and we're no longer taking Zoom public comment or phone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, have a good night. Any other public comment needed here? Okay. Item number 2, certificate of appropriateness.
Motion to close?
Oh. No, we don't need to close public comment. It's an agenda item. Certificate of appropriateness, 133 Yardley Avenue. I guess there's no one here. This is pretty straightforward. Remove one barn and build a new one. It's been approved unanimously by the Harbor Board. Any questions or comments or concerns from board members? You can see the pictures of the old barn is in pretty bad shape. New barn looks just like the old barn, just new.
No questions.
Mr. Palmer?
All my questions were answered in the material.
All right. Any public comment needed? None? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Item number 3. First Ukrainian Evangelical Baptist Church, preliminary and final land development, 920 Trenton Road. Mr. Takita, you want to take us through this one, or Mr. Clark?
Thank you, Mr. Dents. This is a request for preliminary and final land development. The applicant is First Ukrainian Evangelical Baptist Church. The property is located at 920 Trenton Road. It is tax map parcel 13-016-344-001. It is zoned neighborhood commercial. The project has been reviewed by Jones Engineering, and from the movement from the back of the room to the front of the room, I think the applicant is present this evening.
All right. Do you want to come up and just explain real briefly? Basically, what you're doing here is building an addition on there, right?
Yeah, right. We are trying to build addition on the back of the building as an entry hall, because when we purchased, we remodeled it, and right now we entered just in the hall.
Correct.
Where our worship hall. So we need entry hall, and plus we wanted to build pavilion in our park area. So it's our
Yep.
phase 1. There is nothing else.
And this is a huge property. This is the old Eagles Club, correct, on Trenton Road. So
Yes.
they have a huge field in the back. Any questions from board members? Ms.
Nope.
Mullen?
No questions.
Mr. Palmer?
No questions.
Mr. Jones, do you have anything to add?
No, very straightforward project.
Mr. Takita?
Nothing to add.
And Mr. Clark?
You have received the letter from Jones Engineering,
Yes.
and you are going to comply with the comments that are in the review letter.
Yeah, there is something about sewer, but we are not building any extra restroom, nothing.
And you need to get a letter of adequacy from the Bucks County Conservation District, so you'll make sure you do that. Okay.
All right.
And Remington Vernick also issued a letter, but according to Mr. Jones, there were no comments, so it's only really the couple of comments from Mr. Jones.
And you're satisfied with that, Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Any public comment needed? No hands? All right, this is a resolution number 17?
It's not a
No,
resolution.
it's not a resolution. This is preliminary and final land development. This would just be a motion to grant preliminary and final land development.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, in my packet, it says resolution.
Yeah, and you are correct. Mr. Jones just slid it over to me. I don't have, do we have the number on it, Mr. Takita?
Resolution 2022-20.
Okay, is there a motion to approve resolution number 2022-20?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Still hasn't changed, you're good.
Did it twice.
Double thumbs up.
Thank you.
I'm gonna call you Esquire.
Say what?
Mr. Esquire.
Number 4, consider proposal for architectural services for township building renovations. Mr. Takita, do you want to take us
Yes.
through this company? You're familiar with them?
The board is being asked to consider a proposal for architectural services with the IEI group to do design and construction management or construction supervision for the township building renovations. 3 different firms were interviewed. IEI exceeded all of the other firms in their scope and also their enthusiasm. In looking at their references, all the references came back with glowing remarks. The total amount of their services would be $1,364,502, with a not-to-exceed reimbursable amount of $33,000.
Okay. And it was touched on earlier, but there is a committee together that does the building, that handles all this building renovation. And I'm not a member of that committee, but this has been recommended unanimously by them, by Mr. Takita, who himself is an architect. Are you familiar with these guys, Mr. Jones?
No.
Yeah, they're a local company though, you said, right?
Yes. And I apologize, Grace Construction is our construction management company.
Yeah.
They also recommended them as well.
Okay. Any questions from board members? Since you two are on the committee, I assume you have no questions or comments?
No questions. Well, I can comment that I was very impressed with the presentation. I support it.
Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, I concur. One thing I liked was the energy they brought and familiarness to attention to detail. And we have a lot of detail here, and they expressed they wanted to bring community value to the project. So they were ahead and above everybody else, and they came in, I think, pretty reasonable also. So
Lots of experience with
Lots of
municipal projects in particular.
absolutely.
Is there any public comment needed? No hands. All right, so the dollar amount is $1,364,502. Is that correct?
Correct, with a not-to-exceed on reimbursables of $33,000.
And a not to exceed of $33,300. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Mr. Takita, can you pull the board?
Mr. Dents,
Yes.
Ms. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
All right. Item number 5, consider notice of intent to award bid for the 2022 Falls Township Road Improvement Program. So we went out to bid and we had 2 bidders. One was almost $1 million lower than the second bidder, and it's both companies we're familiar with. I mean, as long as I've been here, it's either been James D. Morrissey or General Asphalt. And General Asphalt here is almost $1 million lower. And they're both, brings us under budget, correct?
correct.
Yeah. So it's a little bit lower than what we're expecting, but any comments or questions from board members? Ms. Mullen?
Just, Mr. Jones, do you know, have any insight as to why it's so much lower?
Last year, it was the same results and almost identical in terms of how much lower General Asphalt was, and our evaluation shows that they're really winning in the concrete flatwork department. That's really where the big price discrepancies are for some reason, and ironically, there's times where they're both using the same subcontractor. So I guess General Asphalt's putting less for handling, and there is a little bit of work that the contractor has to do to prep that work.
Okay.
So, and I also know that General Asphalt, enjoys working in Falls Township, and they go aggressively at the projects. They're used to it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Palmer?
No, I'm very happy with the
right.
bids and both contractors, and I'm okay with this.
Any public comment needed? No hands? And do you have anything else to add, Mr. Takita or Mr. Clark?
No, nothing.
Nothing else.
All right, so General Asphalt is under budget at $4,889,447.40. Is there a motion?
So be it.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Mr. Takita, can you pull the board?
Ask for public comment.
Oh, I did.
Oh,
Mr. Dents,
Yes.
Ms. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
All right, thank you. Item number 5, consider finalizing the award for bid for the 2020 Falls Township Road Improvement Program. What are we doing here? It's the same thing?
Mr. Chairman, I believe they're asking the board's authorization to empower the manager to finalize the award because the responsible contractor review period will expire a couple
got
of
ya.
days after the meeting.
Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. We're just giving him the authority to finalize it. Any questions or comments?
No question.
No.
Any public comment needed? None? All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Excuse me. Item 7, consider proposal from Jones Engineering Associates for inspection and construction administrative services for the 2022 Falls Township Road Improvement Program. So this is basically us hiring Jones to do the inspection and administrative services, which he always has done. Any questions or comments? Ms. Mullen?
No questions.
Mr. Palmer?
Basically, this is going to take us into the Nottingham section.
Yes, in terms of the mill and overlay improvements, that will be in the Nottingham section as well as part of US Steel that we hadn't done yet, Enterprise, Dean Severs, for the mill and overlay. And the rest of the project is Pinewood Drive reconstruction.
Taylor Drive, Robin Hood Drive, Sherwood Drive, Martha Circle, Franklin, Progress, Enterprise, Steel Road, and Dean Severs, and Pinewood Drive.
Excellent. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, and this is $243,000. Any public comment needed? No hands. Anything else to add, Mr. Takita or Mr. Clark?
Nothing else?
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Mr. Takita, can you pull the board?
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Mullen?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
I'm a yes. Normally I would abstain, but if I don't vote on this tonight, it won't happen tonight. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I do have a conflict, but
Since there is a conflict, you would be abstaining, but since we are down 2 members tonight, and since the second-class township code requires an affirmative vote of the entire board, not just the president, there is an exception which allows you to vote. You've announced that you have a conflict, but in order for us to be able to conduct business, you're allowed to vote.
and I only knew that because Mr. Clark told me that before the meeting. Consider authorization for advertisement for the Rice Drive Culvert Project. On Rice Drive, there's a small bridge that is washing out,
Correct.
correct?
Has washed out.
Has washed out, yeah, the one side of it, so we're fixing it. Do you have a timeline for this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if authorized tonight to advertise, we will have a bid opening scheduled for mid to late July, and we anticipate starting construction on September 15th, and we expect it to be a 60-day project.
Okay. Any, a 60-day project?
Yes. In and out.
You think that'll happen?
Yes. We have experience with the culvert we did on South Falls Boulevard, and it was some, I think it was 90, but that was a much different solution where we had an arch structure in place with poured footings. And this is going to be 2 end walls with 3 pipes.
I'll bet you 3 tacos this doesn't get done in 60 days.
Done.
Working off the dollar menu.
Any comments or questions from board members, Ms. Mullen?
I would have had the question about what is a culvert, but I researched it before this meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Palmer? Any public comment needed? He's taking bets on tacos if anybody's interested. Mr. Takita?
No.
Any comments? All right. So we're just advertising. Any, is there a motion?
So be it.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Item number 9. Consider amendment employment agreement with Richard DiPolito to serve as the Director of Emergency Services, Assistant Township Manager, and Fire Marshal. Basically, we're just making a change to his contract. His old contract allowed him to purchase, or us purchase back any unused sick days or time off. Somehow that was overlooked when we had the new contract, so it's something that we're adding back into the contract. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Good summary? Pretty straightforward. Any questions or comments from, I guess this will save us money in the long term, because it's not a lose it or use it or lose it situation. So if he keeps all this, accruing this until he retires, he'll be getting paid more money, which would cost us more money, correct?
Correct.
So, you know, I guess it does help us. Any questions or comments?
Now that he's not worth it, but yes.
He's worth it.
No
Mr. Palmer?
comment, no comment.
All right, and I'm good with this. Any public comment needed? None? All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Item number 10. This is a Mike Clark one. Consider resolution for the sewage facilities planning module for KA at Fairless Hills LP, tax map parcel number 13-017-109.
Mr. Dents, members of the board, KA Fairless LP is the Wawa that has previously been approved.
Why would they just put Wawa on there?
Well, they have that's their corporate name is KA at Fairless Hills LP. I think that's the developer of the site and not Wawa. This is an amendment to the Act 537 plan, and when the Act 537 plan is being amended because of additional sewage that's going to be entering into the system, DEP requires a sewage facilities planning module. So this has all been reviewed. This all is also reviewed by the Falls Authority.
Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. It's really not our issue. It's just a change we have to make because they approved this.
Correct.
Is there any questions from board members, Ms. Mullen?
No.
Mr.
Yeah,
Palmer?
we kind of addressed this before with KA. Didn't we give them permit? They couldn't even break ground, but we gave them
Correct.
the opportunity to break ground, but I thought they already did this.
No, if you recall, they didn't have their planning module all in place. They didn't have all the paperwork, and they wanted to get started with construction. Normally, we don't let you do that until you have everything in place, but we arranged for a hold harmless agreement with them.
Sure.
So even if they had any problems down the road, the township wouldn't have any liability for it. And now they've been able to get all their paperwork together and all of the information together to move forward with this planning module.
Any idea for the people watching, like, what is the timeline on this? Like, because I do have people asking, when is this?
Yeah, somebody told me once they start pouring concrete, which is in the next couple of weeks, it's like 60 days or something crazy. Right? Does that sound right?
Bet you 3 tacos that it's not.
Was that you that told me?
Not faster than
No,
the bridge.
they will go fast, and I think the planning module review process could be anywhere from 30 to 60 days.
Once they start pouring concrete, I heard it's like 60 days or some crazy fast amount of time and it's done.
Now, can they do that before they get this permission?
No. What?
So normally what happens in this instance is that the developer will do the site work, will pour the concrete for the foundation. Once that's all done, then they turn it over to essentially Wawa to build the store. And so they move pretty quickly because, as you can imagine, they're building these things all
Yeah.
over the place.
What's the chicken place they're building where Macaroni Grill was? Like they built that, Raising Kings, they built that like overnight.
Yeah.
All right, any public comment needed? Any other questions from board members?
No.
Nope.
Not, is there a motion?
So be it.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. None opposed. Item 11, consider ratifying awarding township insurance policy for the period of June 18th, 2022 to June 18th, 2023. This is for property, general liability, and public liability. So, unfortunately, we're not a good person to insure, is that correct? We have, our rates are going up $46,000, I believe.
That's correct.
And the only person that will insure us is the same people that have been insuring us. Is that accurate as well?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we've had a lot of insurance claims in the past couple of years. Any questions or comments from board members?
No, I think you just said it, but just to clarify, nobody else even gave us nobody else would even quote us?
That's
Out of
correct.
5. Yeah.
Yeah, we need insurance. Hold up.
Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, I'm satisfied with it. At first, I wasn't, and
Right.
I got some answers. Unfortunately, we need insurance, and we need claims to come down. This is gonna go on for, from what I understand, the next 3-4 years of, high rates. So I guess we can do better as a township, trying not to have so many big claims. From what I understand, I think we had 3 of them, that kind of marquee claims, and they're gonna be on for a rolling 4 or 5 years, so. Other than that, I'm okay with this tonight. In the go forward mode, we have to do something.
All right, any public comment needed? No? Is there what's the total dollar amount here?
It's $390,104.
All right, $390,104. Is there a motion?
So be it.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Mr. Takita, can you pull the board?
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Ms. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Dents.
Yes.
And Mr. Dents, if I could just back up to item number 10, the resolution number is 2022-21.
Oh, that was a resolution?
Correct.
I'm sorry. Do we have to do anything, Mike? No. Was there a resolution? I guess so. I'm used to seeing our resolutions. I apologize. All right, item number 12. Consider ratifying contract with Armor Electric for the surveillance camera project at Falls Township Community Park. This is pretty straightforward as well. We installed a security system, cameras in the park. For years, we've never had cameras down there, and we've had some pretty significant incidents in the past couple years, so we felt it was appropriate time to finally put cameras down there. The problem was getting electric to where we needed it for the cameras. There's no Wi-Fi or anything like that down there. Somehow we found a workaround, and the total amount was $96,500. That included the cameras, is that correct? Yes. That was for the total project. Well, I know that we had, just last year, we had a little boy that almost drowned in the park. There was a report of a boat that was capsized, and nobody knew if someone was in the boat or someone was not in the boat. So, of course, we assumed the worst and had everybody down there looking for, thank God it wasn't, but this is the kind of stuff that we could find with the cameras. Will be a huge help. No one's going to be, monitoring these cameras 24/7 or anything like that, but they can be accessed remotely, so first responders can access them from their devices or their cars if they have an iPad or whatever. It'll be, it's just a life safety thing for the township. And I think it's as busy as that park is, it's something that we should have done, or, we tried to do it a long time ago, several years ago. But like I said, there's a lot of infrastructure issues down there. But here we are, $96,500. Any questions or comments?
No.
Mr. Palmer?
No, I think it's a great addition to the park. No comment.
Any public comment? No hands. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Mr. Takita, can you pull the board?
Mr. Dents,
Yes.
Ms. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer.
Yes.
Item 13, consider escrow releases. Escrow release. WG Lincoln Properties, $388,932.83. Is that the only one?
Looks like it.
Yeah. And you're satisfied that they're ready to go, Mr. Jones?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, this is straightforward. Again, this isn't township's money that we're giving away. This is money held in escrow by developers that we're giving back to them. Any questions or comments?
No.
No question.
Any public comment? None? All right, is there a motion?
So be it.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Mr. Takita?
Mr. Dents,
Yes.
Ms. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer.
Yes.
All right. Anybody for item 14, appointments to various boards, councils, committees, and commissions?
Yes. Motion to appoint Nastasha Raisley, it's written here as Natasha, but her name's Nastasha Raisley, to Shade Tree Commission.
Very good. I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Anything else? Oh, I'm sorry.
You got one?
No. Mr. Palmer, any?
No.
I have none. Good?
Good, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Item 15, the minutes from March 21st. I wasn't at the meeting, so I'm going to abstain.
Do we have to
I guess we'll
table this?
table this till the next meeting.
You can still vote on it even though you weren't present. You're not saying, you're just acknowledging that these are the official minutes of
Okay.
the meeting, so you can still vote on it.
Anything, comments or edits from board members?
No.
Yeah.
No? All right. Is there a motion then to approve the minutes from May 18th?
So moved.
Second.
Hold on, what are we doing here? March 21st,
April 18th.
April 18th, May 2nd, and May 16th?
Yes.
We haven't approved those minutes since?
No, you have not.
Okay. Is there a motion made and seconded for all of
Yes.
these?
Yes.
All right, motion made, all in favor?
Aye. Were they excellent?
Excellent minutes as always, Mrs. Pullo. Item 16, engineers report. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last month, we received 5 new earth disturbance applications and 1 cell tower alteration application, no land developments. As usual, the highlights are identified in red text. I'll highlight some of them. The J.G. Petrucci tract, that's down on Ben Fairless Drive. That project is substantially complete, with the exception of grass growth in the bottom of the basin. So I expect that to be resolved by next month and complete. The Wawa on Lincoln Highway, I was going to say, it was already discussed tonight, but my update would be that the Wawa building contractor is about to take the site, and it's going to go pretty quick. Tavo Packaging is substantially complete. We're waiting for as-built for that. North Point Phase 1, Building 1, that's the amended final plan. We expect a pre-construction meeting to occur within the next couple of weeks, and that project will be underway. For Lincoln Storage, there was a holdup on the retaining wall due to its proximity to the property lines, but we've worked through those issues with the applicant, the developer, and the contractor and engineer, and they are now on track to start bulk earthwork, and that should go fairly quickly now. Raising Cane's, you had mentioned that there's a lot of work being done, some site improvements have been done, so we expect that to be wrapping up relatively quick. I'd like to have a date for you, because I know everybody's excited about it, but I don't. But I would say it would be, well, I won't say a date. I don't want to lose 3 more tacos. North Point Building, Phase 2, Buildings 4, 5, and 6, we're working with the applicant's engineer on some technical comments, but that will be, we expect a pre-construction meeting next month for that project. The Mission Barbecue is mainly interior renovations at this point. The Britton Industries, this is a little bit late to the party, so I apologize for that, but that was approved by the board, and we're in final plan review with the applicant. That's for the buildings that are going to go on their site to replace the one that burnt down. The Morrisville Municipal Authority wastewater treatment plant building addition will be before the board next month for waiver of land development approval. The Hyosin project, we're in developer agreements and Mylar stage, so that will be coming to construction pretty quickly. And the waste management renewable natural gas will be before the Planning Commission next month. The earth disturbance updates are pretty quick. Calmore Properties, that's just a laydown yard next to Premium Lift down on Old 13, and we had a pre-construction meeting for that, so that will be underway soon. The residential project on Oak Lane, the house is being constructed. On the third column, the wastewater treatment plant earth disturbance is completed, and the rest of the ones at the bottom of the list are under review with the exception of the pool that's been approved. In terms of the township projects, again, a little bit late on this one, but the Quaker Penn Park, our office is looking into the possibility of dredging. At some point, we were asked to look into that. We haven't heard any complaints about the water depths down there, so, and I know there's a very small window, so it's going to be a heavy lift to try to get that area dredged if we have to. But we're looking into that, and we'll be able to report back if and when you decide to do that. The 21-23 road program we discussed, Willow Drive is complete on the shelf and ready to go out to bid next year. And the Rice Drive culvert we discussed earlier.
The window for dredging is because of migrating turtles, correct?
There's
a very
there's
small
number,
window
I think,
where we
yeah,
can be in there.
there's a sturgeon, I believe, that has a moratorium for most of the year. But it was early in the year, and I think there was a new environmental concern that pushed it to late in the year and narrowed the window to maybe 1 or 2 months.
Right. And Tony Batiste, I know you're here. Item 29, this is something that we've discussed many times. Before the Planning Commission, at the July 26th Planning Commission meeting, that's the natural gas plant that they're going to build down by the landfill. I know we've talked about that several times. They'll be before the Planning Commission on July 26th. And then after that, they'll come before us. Any questions or comments for Mr. Jones?
No questions.
Keep getting questions about the car wash up by the high school.
Have not heard back from the applicant's engineer, but we're waiting for an estimate to prepare the land development agreements. Everything's in order on our end.
Okay.
They may be looking for funding, or hopefully it's not a scope change.
Thank you.
Any public comment? No? All right. Is there a motion to, do we have to accept these? Might as well.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. That takes us to the bill list. $2,085,635.26, majority of which is payroll. Any questions or comments from board members?
No questions.
Mr. Palmer?
No questions.
Any public comment needed? None. Is there a motion to pay the bills?
Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion to pay the bills. Mr. Takita, can you pull the board?
Ms. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Dents.
I'm a yes, and again, I would normally be abstaining because of a conflict, but as explained earlier, I'm voting yes. Mr. Clark, we didn't have an executive session, have we, since our last meeting?
We had one on June 2nd and another one on June 7th. Both of them involved personnel, various matters of potential litigation and litigation.
All right, thank you. We have no police department report. We have manager comment. Mr. Takita, do you have anything?
No comments.
That takes us to board comment. Ms. Mullen.
No comment.
Mr. Palmer?
No comment.
And I have no comment. That takes us to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.